that you're going nowhere. Don't blame me for what you've done, because I know that you are having fun.
Welcome to the Clarified Realty Podcast, exposing the real estate secrets your agent doesn't want you to know. Here's your host, Tom Clary.
Well, don't you just walk away. That's when I'll say.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Clarified Realty Podcast. My name is Tom Clary, and I'm your host. I'm a licensed real estate agent here in the beautiful state of California, Los Angeles to be exact. I am here with my co-host, as always, Ron Bruno. Ron, how you doing today, sir? You globe-trotting son of a bitch.
Oh my God, man! I've been everywhere.
You are you travel more than any human being. Like there are actual pilots for airlines that don't travel as much as you do.
I wouldn't say that, but at least in the month of March, that is pretty accurate. I was in Dallas.
First, you started off in Dallas.
Yeah, so started in Dallas.
Yeah.
I was helping out a little bit with Tech Ball, right? Technology
right.
Ball.
Your
with,
wife's
with Karen as her business.
Her business.
So, meeting with some folks there.
By the way, just give everybody a little bit of a kind of a background on what that exactly is, because we keep on bringing it up and they probably don't understand necessarily what that is.
Sure.
Just give a little quick recap so everybody knows.
So in Dallas, Karen puts together this big black tie gala for the technology community, and it's affectionately known as IT Prom. Right.
So it's where the nerds go, get all dressed up in their tuxes.
The rich nerds.
The rich nerds.
The rich nerds, the very successful.
The ones who were lashing
profile.
out at the people who didn't, go out with them in high school.
Exactly.
They go out and they bring their, trophy wives to the technology ball.
Or husbands, right?
Or husbands, of course.
Yeah. So, but it's really a great, so what Karen does is she brings together these executive hosts, right? So the executive hosts, they're VPs of IT. They are the C-level executives, right?
Okay.
So they are the CIO, which is Chief Information Officer.
They're a couple of strata down.
Chief Technology Officer. They report directly to the CEO.
Got it.
Right? Or they report to the CFO, but they're in the C-suite. Right? So they control an IT budget that could be anywhere millions or tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars. Right. So Karen has them as executive hosts, and then sponsors, they want to have that opportunity to get in front of them.
Yeah, just to kind of meet and glad hand. And,
Karen's roster right now is at about 70 executive hosts. So, if you're a technology salesperson and your job is to meet with these C-suite executives, and you can meet with 70 in a room, and not just at the gala, but also a series, we plan a series of lead-in events, right? So with that, you're able to network and really start to establish some rapport, right? And it's all social, right? Yeah. So there's a philanthropic component to it because a portion of the proceeds goes to help, STEM, exactly, STEM causes. So science, technology, engineering, and math, right? And it's all about keeping the college graduates persist in their degree, right? So the college students persist in their degree. So is it really targeted at college students? It's not like at younger than that, or is it? Well, the particular nonprofit. So she's partnered with MentorNet, and that's their focus. Got it. Right. So they pair college students with senior executives in a technology career. Right. And the idea is that they come in and it's not just engineering that they're going to go into. Right. It's actually something that could be really fun, like graphic artists or whatever it is, right? Well, virtual reality. But it's funny because it's like the whole STEM thing has kind of exploded in terms of in our schools, and we take our kids to a STEM kind of after hours thing. Yeah. That kind of made it sound like Fight Club or something. That's not exactly what I meant by it. It could be. I put my two kids in a ring and they, Well, they could build robots that fight each other. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. But but this is what you're talking about though is for folks who have come out of a technology degree and to keep them kind of going in that direction. Keep going in the direction rather than kind of getting stagnated into Walmart jobs. Well, or something. Right. I mean, if you look at science and math and those are hard subjects, right? Yeah. So when you get your first C, you sometimes get discouraged. And if you look at it and say, well, I don't want to be an engineer, that's not really me. But they don't realize that there's so much more that you can do with those fields. And it's one of the fastest growing, and it's the field. There's actually more opportunity in STEM type jobs than there are jobs to fill. Right. So they actually need. There's
more.
a huge lack of supply.
So you're saving the world there. Then you get
saving
on
the world there.
You're getting on a plane then.
Yeah. Well, we come back here. So I come back here and
you touch down for 20 minutes.
For like 20 minutes,
You
and then
splash some water in your face.
Exactly. Turn it around, and then I'm headed
get
up
another
to
777 back to Seattle.
Seattle. Yeah. So I was in Seattle from Sunday through. I guess that's what today's Friday. So and then touchdown on Wednesday night.
Right. And you were
late Wednesday.
You got a big kind of big deal thing going on with the agents at basically
the advisors. So the nomenclature.
That's right, because they're not real estate agents. They're advisors.
They're advisors. So Engel and Volkers. It's a German company.
I would have never guessed.
You never would have guessed that,
really?
Right? Exactly. It's got those those little 2 dots over.
Engel and Volkers.
Well,
you will buy this house. You will like this house and you'll buy it.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
So it was a great conference. It was the Americas, so they had people coming from obviously all over the U.S., but also Caribbean nations. Sat next to 2 guys. They were from Mallorca, and they were saying, they're like, you need to come to Mallorca. And I'm like, we can't finance Mallorca, but if I can find a way, believe me, I'll
be there.
And he's like, we'll go to Ibiza, and I'm like, oh my god, this sounds amazing.
He's going to be in like one of those bubble dance pits.
Yes,
with
they
the
have
kids.
those. Yes,
in Ibiza.
He showed me like there was like an outside club, and it was right on the beach. And apparently, like, they just play that music all the time. And it's exactly. And I told him, I'm like, it's the same song, right? And he's like, it doesn't change. And he's like, no, it's pretty much the same song. But I guess the kids, they can find out.
So Ron Bruno's Rave and Lending is only just a step away.
It's just a step away.
Really, we just got to find a way to make it work.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. But no, it was a great conference, and met lots of great folks from all over the country.
And you missed me.
I did. I missed you, and I got a.
I gave you a little phone call.
Yes, Tom left a voicemail. I thought it was hilarious. I got his Tuesday night after the dance party. So let me see if I can. Turn it up here. Hold on.
This is me literally stuck in the 405. I'm surrounded by cars. I know that Bruno is.
All right, here we go.
Hobnobbing with the hoi polloi.
Out networking and schmoozing and networking. And I'm stuck out here on the traffic in the 405, just listening to you and me, tomorrow's podcast, pining. I'm pining again.
I pine. I always pine for Ron Bruno. I'm always thinking about you, even when you're not in the state, Ron.
I appreciate it. Yeah. It's always nice to feel the love.
Yeah. I don't know if it's love,
but it was fun. That was a nice message. It was a pretty exhausting.
Somebody's got to bring you down to earth every once in a while.
No, it's true, man. It's totally
when
true.
You were like, going around and you're,
I was hustling, man.
I
was hustling like crazy,
man.
Yeah.
Hustle's your middle name.
Hustle's my middle. Ron Hustle Bruno.
Ron Hustle Bruno.
That's right. Exactly. I'm dropping the P. I'm going for the H.
That could go so many different directions.
This is true. That's true.
I don't really want to go there.
Don't even go there.
So we got any news though? Let's go there. That sounds like a good.
Okay, so back to Earth. Oh, and Karen and I were getting on a plane.
Yeah, you're going on a cruise.
Thursday. Yeah, we're going on a cruise.
You're going on a cruise.
Heck yeah!
I mean, this is proving my point.
I know. I'm telling you, it's busy time for the Brunos. So
that's ridiculous.
So we're going to. Actually, it changed. Originally, I thought we were going to Mexico, but we're not going to Mexico anymore. We looked this shit up. We're actually going to St. Martin. We're going to.
Let's stop everything here for 1 second.
Yeah.
You're going so many goddamn places. You don't even know where you're going.
Kinda.
You've lost track of where you're going. You've got so many places you're going.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, for some reason, we thought we were going to like Mexico, and we were going to go down to the Cayman Islands, which is beautiful. I mean, I don't care where we go. It's hot, and it's going to feel great.
You know where I went?
We get to jump in.
You know where I went?
You took care of your kids.
I went to Costco.
You went to Costco?
I went to Costco. I think I broke the world record for eating a hot dog.
Well, what do you mean?
I shoved a hot dog down my gullet in like
Oh.
They were timing me. It was that special.
I mean,
I'm doing
decent hot dogs at Costco.
Well, they're not even decent. They're fantastic.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
They're
pretty good.
I read this one of those BuzzFeed listicles that was all about I guess they were it was a desperate news day, and they were looking for let's talk. The guy was at the Costco and was like, "What the hell can we talk about?" I don't know. Oh, wait a minute! Hot dog from Costco. What could we talk about? But literally, it was about how Costco originally was Hebrew National, then it switched over to their own Kirkland, not because they were trying to
Seattle based, right? There you go. See, it all ties in.
Jesus Christ! And it was literally that they actually wanted a better hot dog, even.
Interesting.
And bigger. They wanted a bigger hot dog.
You know what's crazy? At the airport at Seattle, they actually had Amazon Air. So they have their own the whole fleet of jets that they're now putting together.
What? Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wait, are you talking about like an airline? Or are you talking about shipping?
No, I think like an airline. So
really?
it could be part of their shipping, but I saw something about they're getting into the travel industry.
Does the plane pick you up at your door in 2 days?
Right, exactly. They have a drone that takes you to the plane.
Is that what it is?
That's how it works.
You can actually be picked up at your house, and just all you need is 48 hours notice.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, Amazon's goal is to replace everything and everything you need to buy or sell or
with Prime seating, you get an extra bag of peanuts and all the movies you want to watch.
All of that, man. See, now you're thinking. Now you're thinking like Bezos.
Bezos better watch out.
That's right. I did see the first Starbucks though. That was cool. Down by Pike Market.
Oh yeah.
And you retouched that picture. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah. I made your picture look prettier.
That's right.
It was a pretty picture. But
it was nice. It was nice. But saw the people throwing the fish and all that stuff. That was cool.
Yeah. Cool.
What were we talking about?
News.
Yeah. So today they had the jobs report for February.
I think people have all fallen asleep in their cars by now.
They could have. But it's been a while, man. We haven't caught up. So let's see. Let me pull up the news story. It is right here. No, that's not it. No, here it is. U.S. added 313,000 jobs in February.
Yeah.
Right. So the consensus was that it was going to be around 200,000. So the fact that they've added above what everybody thought they were, and that was already an optimistic number, the market is very giddy. Yeah. So the stock market went up today. Everyone's happy. The unemployment rate actually held steady at 4.1%. Which has been, consistently low, right, for the past, multiple sessions. But that $313,000 number has been
not dollar. 313,000.
13,000 people. Jobs. Correct. That's actually the highest since July of 2016. Yeah. Right. So if you think about it, and you're looking at the economy, and you're like, oh, I don't know, it's getting frothy, bubble time. But it actually is showing that the market has more to run. Yeah. Right.
Well, we're kind of clawing back to normalcy, I think, is kind of more how I see it.
Well, and that's how I see it too. I mean, I think it's, I think the recovery after the recession in 2008, it was extremely slow. Yeah. Right. A lot of recoveries, you have a this massive bump right after everything has gone down, and then it just continues to climb. But ours has been so slow and gradual. Yeah. You don't even feel that it's a recovery. Right. It's prolonged and it's been painful. I think now we're getting to the point where, jobs are coming, the wage growth is growing. Yeah. So, right now we're at 2.6%, which is healthy, right? Yeah. Compared to, back in 2008 and 2009 where it was a negative number. Right. So, you don't want to have your employees where they're paid less. I guess unless you're a business owner. Yeah. But so that's a positive sign. Yeah. Right. So they're adding more. They're also growing in certain segments. Something you and I were talking about just briefly. So Trump talked about tariffs, right?
Right. So whole steel and aluminum. Or as that the British reporter on CNN Money says, aluminium. Aluminium.
That's
tariffs.
Right. Yes. Those are the same people that call it jaguars or whatever.
And then let's get on the lift.
Right. Well, yeah. But so a potential trade war can erupt out of all of these things.
Right. So. And if that affects American businesses, if all of a sudden they're putting a tariff on bourbon in Kentucky and they're not selling as much bourbon overseas, that affects the jobs, and they could see some sort of retraction for any kind of positive that you're getting. I mean, the cynical way of looking at these tariffs is that was a promise he made to his base,
Right.
his 30%
Right.
of the country.
Yeah.
And so basically he wants to make sure that they vote for him again
Right.
in those key battleground states.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, and that's why they...
And no matter what the damage is to the country as a whole.
Yeah, you could look at it that way. But you also have, when you look at the tax reform, he dropped the corporate income tax from 35 to 21.
Well, that's true.
Right. So
but if they're not selling anything because not selling anything, but if they're selling less because of these tariffs from the other countries are going to impose because in kind of retribution to what we're doing to them,
right,
there's going to be fewer things sold overseas.
True.
Which are these big markets for these people. So it doesn't matter what you're saving more on less money.
Right. Right. Well, I think it's those particular sectors, right? He hasn't imposed a tariff across the board.
No, I'm talking about them. I'm talking about China. I'm talking about them putting tariffs in retaliation for these tariffs that they're putting on. So that, anything that you're gaining in terms of the tax, that everybody will be fine. Let's just say that the tax was a great thing and you're going to take more money home and all that kind of thing, right?
And hire more people.
But if you get less money because now they're going to be punishing us because people are going to, it all gets out in the wash.
No, it's true. I mean, I was reading something that actually had, and eventually we'll bring on our guest today, but, I was reading.
Yeah, by the way.
He's getting antsy.
He's like going, when they start looking at their watch, that we've talked too damn long. But right. It'll be worthwhile, folks.
But what I was seeing is that, if you look at the cost of goods, they had certain things like medical equipment and the cost of school, like it is rapidly increased. But if you look at things like a television set, it is rapidly decreased.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And a big reason for that is because they manufacture them globally.
Yeah.
Right? And you're able to, get the new LG TV.
Sure.
And get it for,
Well, and also they're making
$400.
They're making things
where normally that was
cheaper.
Like $5,000.
Yeah, right.
Even 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So they're just mass manufacturing it. So if all of a sudden they're not importing that into the US and we have to get it through other means, then it's going to be more expensive. Right? So that's going to, that'll help. That's actually going to be a negative because things will be more expensive.
Yeah.
So that could hurt consumption on the U.S. side. So.
And I don't want to go too deep into it here, but I also heard something incredibly fascinating about this. Is kind of related to if we're looking at inflation not being a factor, a huge factor, and because that's really what they're saying, that this is, if we're adding jobs, it's a good thing that inflation's not out of control, right?
Right. Well, and another piece to that is also the fact that it was so positive. Now it's going to pave the way for Jerome Powell, the new Fed.
Well, that's where I'm going with this.
Right. It's going to be another raise.
It's raising the rates.
Yep.
And what was fascinating, and to really kind of bring it back to the real estate point of view, was that somebody looked back at the last time in like a 5-year period where interest rates started to climb. And so the kind of initial supply and demand kind of gut thing is that, okay, we're going to start having less demand and more supply. It actually turns out for those 5 years to be the other way around. Actually gets people up off of their butts. And they start going, oh, I need to buy now.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean,
and so you actually see an increase of demand.
Correct.
Which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think there was a little bit of a shock between December to February because people that, they thought they were going to get their 4%, mortgage or even 3%.
Yeah.
Now it's going to get into the 4s and the 5s, right? And eventually into the 6s.
Yeah.
Now that shock has kind of worn off and now it's more like, we do want to buy a home. We got to really do this because waiting around and just expecting rates are going to stay low forever. Those days days aren't here anymore. So I think it is a positive to get people out there and going. Because if you've got somebody who was right there on the line that was pre-approved for a $550,000 home, now that $550,000 home might be $500,000.
Yeah,
because interest rates went up by 0.5 point.
Right, and your buying power just went down.
Right, exactly.
We'll get into this a little bit more in a future podcast, but I do want to bring in our guest for today. He's an audience favorite and a friend of our podcast. It's Ian Mayer. He's the owner of I Am Home Inspections here in Los Angeles. Ian is an InterNACHI Do I pronounce that correctly?
Yes.
Internaci, certified house inspector.
Certified master inspector.
Ooh, that's right. I think that happened in between. Were you a master last time we chatted?
That happened right afterwards.
That's right. That's right. So he's an Internaci Master Certified Home Inspector. That's the International Association of Certified Home Inspectors. And he's a graduate of the American Society of Home Inspectors. He's our inspections guru. He really knows what he's talking about when it comes to checking out a house and pointing out red flags and things buyers should really know about. Ian, it's great to have you back on the podcast. Thanks for being here.
It's great to be back.
It's so good to have you back.
I have to give kudos to you. I was reading a thing or listening to another podcast and was talking about
while we were talking. I'll tell you, I probably would have been listening to something else. Well,
it was talking about how many people start a podcast and then give up.
Yeah, no, it's true though.
So the fact that I think interview 6, and now here I am back at somewhere
60.
60.
Isn't this 60?
He's going to be 60. You're going to be actually.
So I'm 6 and 60. All right.
Look at that. 10 times the amount.
I have to say that one of the things that I kind of thought about at the very beginning was it's like, look, if I'm going to do this, I have to give it the long shot. And Ron and I had this conversation. It's just, if I just do it 5 times and they go, oh, nobody's listening, it doesn't work that way. You got to.
And we'll clarify one little thing. Part of it is because you email me and go, who do I get on? And I give you names.
Well, and that's true. By the way, Ian has been a fantastic resource for us in terms of
100%.
And
very helpful.
And Ron also as well, because Ron is also out there. He's our booker. If anybody ever wants to be on the podcast, please get in contact with Bruno here.
Yeah, I'm a screener.
He's a screener. He makes sure that you're on the up and up.
That's right. Exactly.
We don't have just any Joe Schmoes on here.
New.
So we were talking. We were kind of having a conversation before this episode started about. Something it kind of blows in my mind, but in some weird way, it makes total sense. And that was about how there are now companies that here, let me just take you through the home buying process for just kind of as a preface to this whole thing. What happens when you record at the end of the sale? Basically, all that information, your home address, your name, all that kind of loan information is basically public record. That anybody can get access to that information and somehow use it to attempt to interface with you, like try to sell you something. Usually, it's usually about someone trying to sell you something. And Ian, you were telling us that it's literally starting so early that they're actually getting in contact with you guys now because it's before the recording.
Yeah, well, if you've been through the buying process, when you buy a home, then you get inundated with ads trying to sell you insurance, your cable provider, your this or that. But by that time, it's usually too
home
late.
Security also, they're the ones worst.
Security. But by that time, usually it's too late, though, because you've already bought insurance for at least the first year. So
right.
There's been increasing pressure put on home inspectors.
That's crazy.
Because who knows who's going to buy a house? And when you open escrow, you usually have 7, 10, 14-day contingency period to get your home inspection done. So the home inspector's in there a good, 14 to 20 days before closing.
Right. Before that becomes public.
Sometimes much earlier than that. Yeah. Before this information comes public. So that's before you've bought your insurance, before you've decided who your cable provider is going to be. There's a variety of companies now, just in the last few months, coming out of the woodwork, putting a lot of pressure on home inspectors to give up names, phone numbers, email addresses of buyers. They're doing this by incentives.
Yeah,
they're offering.
What kind of incentives are they?
There's been a couple different. There's one company that's been around for a while, and they offer a 90-day warranty on your home inspection.
Now, give the folks a little bit of a background about why that would be important for someone like yourself.
Well, the idea is...
Or at least, I would say probably people who weren't as good as you.
Well, it sounds impressive in your marketing.
Yeah.
Not only do I give you a home inspection, but I'm going to give you a warranty on your home inspection, and I'm going to give you all these sort of guarantees and guards against leaks, against mold, against this and that, or, maybe your dishwasher's been recalled. And so in order for the home inspector signs up for all these things, well, this is great because it makes me sound important.
Right.
I don't just do a home inspection. I'm going to give you a home inspection and all this stuff on top of it. What consumers don't necessarily realize is to qualify for all that stuff, you have to hand over, the inspector has to hand over
all your personal information.
Your name, your phone number, and your email address. So one company's been around for a while, and then just recently this startup company came along and they started buying up products that home inspectors use. They scheduling software, something called Homeowners Network, and then partnering with different groups to offer these various incentives. We'll pay for this for you. We'll pay for that. We'll give you a $100 handyman gift certificate in exchange for that you can then give to your clients.
Yeah.
In exchange for the client's information, which, if you're a struggling business owner, you're trying to get going, or you're trying to pad your bottom line.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great marketing tool.
It sounds like a new profit center almost.
Yeah. But it comes down to they want names and phone numbers and email addresses so they can call these people and then offer them services.
Yeah.
And they're thinking, well, you just bought a home and your home needs repair, so we want to have someone to provide services for you. And then a very large insurance company recently bought out one of the home inspection software companies.
Now that's really fascinating.
We haven't really seen where that's going yet, but I started looking into it, and it's this multi-billion-dollar insurance company buying a software company that's probably worth a couple thousand.
Right.
And you're thinking, what does a billion-dollar company want with a home inspection software company that has maybe, I don't know, probably less than 10,000 users?
Yeah.
Well, again, that data, because who needs insurance?
Yeah.
Someone who's about to buy a house.
Now, would there also be an added value to them in knowing, like in that software, is there anything about in the issues that are going on inside the house, or is it?
Well, in the reports. Would be at least that's one where I haven't quite seen where that's going yet.
Yeah.
But the other companies, it's just like every day there's some new pressure on inspectors to sign up for something so they can get this data, and you just sort of like this weird line is being drawn in the sand between inspectors. You're going, all right, that sounds like great. I want the incentives, and inspectors are going, no, why?
Yeah.
These are my clients, and I'm doing all this work. What do you mean you're just going to start calling them?
Absolutely.
I remember when I bought my first house, I got all the ads in the mail.
Sure.
But they taper off after a while.
Oh, yeah.
I can't imagine started getting called before that.
Yeah. Right. Ron, you had something?
Yeah. So, at first when I was, thinking of the concept that we had, I was going to kind of go in the real estate direction. But, it's something that it was just coming into my mind is when I was a financial advisor, and when Merrill Lynch merged with B of A, and they wanted all the Merrill Lynch financial advisors to start offering all these B of A products. And I remember, I think it was kind of like the last straw. They wanted me to start selling merchant card services, credit card machines to my high net worth clients, right? So it's like, all right, so, we've gone over your portfolio when we talked about little Timmy and his, setting up his 529 plan, and, you guys are going on this vacation. Now let's talk about, your credit card machines at your, at your store, and,
right.
And when it goes down, I'll be there to make sure that I refill the tape. Well, that makes no sense, right? And that's the challenge when it comes to these cross-selling opportunities. It sounds good in theory, but if I'm going to buy a home and I contract with Ian and he's going to do my home inspection, I don't expect to have get bombarded with all of these other people because of something I paid him for. Right. I gave you money for this report, and all of a sudden I'm getting bombarded. Another aspect to this is, to the real estate transaction. And this is something that pops up on the lending side, right? So we talked about this, right? So there was a news story that, the credit bureaus are selling the
trigger leads.
Trigger leads, right? So what happens is when you run your credit, Experian can go ahead and sell that to a mortgage company and say, there was someone pulled their residential credit report, so it looks like they're either going to refi, they're going to buy a home. Well, now you're getting involved where you're disrupting the flow of the transaction. Yeah. Right. So it's kind of like, the best way to describe and how I view it is, we were talking about travel, right? So you're getting on a plane and you make your appointment, and the pilot, they're getting everything ready. We know what the destination is. They're calculating the fuelage, all of that, right? So they get all of this information, and now all of a sudden you're in the air, and then all of a sudden you have all these people saying, well, no. Why don't you jump out and come onto my plane?
Right.
Right? Because we're going to be better. We're going to be better than your plane. And you're like, well, that's really dangerous because we're in the middle of this,
James Bond it between the two planes, right?
Exactly. And that's what's happening. And it's disruptive to the industry.
Right.
They say that it's competitive. It's not competitive.
Have you thought about incorporating like some sort of privacy agreement into your, you know what I mean? Just to kind of like say, hey, I would never do this, or even incorporating into your marketing at this point. I mean, my God.
Yeah. I haven't really incorporated my marketing. I just made a decision though about 2 months ago. They're like, I'm no longer taking clients' phone numbers.
Oh, really? Like,
I mean, you give them to me,
but you're not recording it in some way.
It'll be on my phone if they call me. Obviously if I call them, it's in my phone. But I'm not recording it anymore because I'm not authorizing my data to go to any of these companies, but even if they like hack my system, I don't want them to have phone numbers.
But sometimes it's out of your control completely. And that if you brought it up when a company buys another company out just for their database, which is what you're really talking about.
Right.
You didn't make the agreement with that company that's coming in.
Right.
So yeah, in terms of making sure that your clients don't, give away their phone numbers to somebody else that they don't want to have their phone number. Because you decided to store it in a database.
Right. Like things like addresses, that becomes public knowledge. There's not a lot I can do about that.
Well, that's going to, yeah.
And email addresses, spammers have their ways of picking that up. But getting that phone number is like, this is too much. So
that's a violation of privacy.
And the flip side of this, the other aspect is, they're also trying to, in order to get the data, Uberize.
Go into that. What do you mean by that?
Well, what did Uber do is they went around and they took all these independent drivers and brought them all together. Like if I want an Uber, I don't call my neighbor across the street and say, hey, come pick me up. I call Uber and someone comes picks me up.
Right.
So there's companies out there that are trying to sort of go, what else can we Uberize?
Well, yeah, everything's being Uberized.
And, obviously on the real estate agent, you've experienced a little bit of that. But on the inspector side, there's companies that are out there that are trying to do this. Where you just call this one number and we'll set you up with whoever you want.
Yeah.
Be it a contractor, carpenter, plumber, electrician, or home inspector. And then part of that is not just to get the business and sell the leads, but to get the data.
Right.
And so that's where the other aspect of home inspector, the pressure is coming on home inspectors. Like, not only do we want your data, but we want you to sign up with us so that, and if there's sort of like these implied threats. If you don't sign up with us, then you'll eventually be out of business because we're
really they're going that far.
Well, it's implied. It's not stated.
Wow. Yeah, you don't want to be like one of these other guys. You want to, be like Jack, kind of thing. Where,
well, as an independent businessman, I started my own business. I have my own business. I like running my own business. I don't want to work for someone else. That's why I started my own business.
Yeah, right.
And all of a sudden, I have this company like trying to like sort of control. Well,
yeah,
we want people to call us and not you.
But when you're talking about Uberization, are you talking about like that basically you guys would all go together to like some sort of what's interesting? You were talking with me earlier about someone who we previously had on the podcast, which was Cindy Nasser, who is from PCV Mercor, which is an appraiser management company. And one of the things that they do is they kind of basically say they get the appraisal and they send it out to people. Right. Is that what you're talking about? Like some sort of inspection management company?
Yeah. Well, the most popular version is Home Advisor.
Okay, what's that? What do you mean by that?
Home Advisors, if you ever turn on the radio, or ever turn on the TV, you'll see these ads. Oh, if you need a contractor, you need someone to fix your fence, you need this, you just call this number.
Oh, it's like Angie's List kind of thing.
Yeah, but Angie's List started as a little more organic piece where people could review things.
Right.
This is still simply call us, we'll hook you up with somebody.
Right.
And they make it sound like they've got this great network of people.
Right.
But basically, it's just all leads. They get the lead, and then they sell it off to whoever is signed up for it.
Right.
So that's where they're trying to essentially Uberize it. Instead of calling me directly or calling the electrician directly or calling the plumber directly. They just want you to call this one number.
Right.
And then they'll contact us, of course, taking a fee off of it. And there's getting very competitive in that area as well.
Ron, you had something?
Yeah. So at the conference, I was one of, 10 sponsors, and one of the sponsors was a large national home inspection company, right? And they had franchisees. Right, so they would.
He just made air quotes, folks. Just
I did.
So you know.
It's true.
Just so you know, that's a radio and not video.
Whatever.
So
yeah, that's funny. I'm Italian. I use my hands. Forgive me.
Well, it's a very specific gesture, Ron. It means that you're saying
true.
quotes.
It's true. It's true.
All right,
so quote. But they had quote franchisees, right? And I think the biggest difference is if you can't market yourself, and if you are struggling, and you just want to do good work, right? Mm-hmm. But you're trying to compete out in the market, and you haven't built enough business out there, and you're not necessarily business savvy or marketing savvy, then it might be a good option to join with these companies and bite the bullet, right? It's similar to buying a franchise of a Taco Bell,
and that's like
right? Versus starting
jumping
your own
on
restaurant.
the Redfin wagon,
right? Jumping on the Redfin wagon,
where basically you're getting so everybody understands that Redfin gives like reduced. But generally speaking, it's the people who don't want to go out and shag leads.
Correct. Yeah. And then you're given 150, things to follow up on. And,
right.
Okay, cool. So you're busy, and which is what you wanted.
Right.
But it's not your business.
Right.
Yeah, right. You don't get to own those clients. But with Ian, he's extremely marketing savvy.
Yeah.
I parked behind the IM home inspections wagon, when we pulled up here at WeWork. And he markets the hell out of it. Right. So he doesn't need these other companies.
So here's the difference. Franchises have been around forever. I mean, when I started my company, I had the option of going with the franchise or not. Mm-hmm. I chose not for personal reasons. But the franchises have been around forever. You can always buy a franchise of just anything in any business. But these companies are going, well, okay, so the franchise taking over the world is not necessarily working because not everybody wants to buy into the franchise. Therefore, we're going to go around that.
We're going to do something that it slips under the radar and pulls out the information in a different way, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because you can still, even if you're a franchisor or independent, now we've got a new way to control everything, and we're going to attempt to control it all and get in the consumer's mind that you just call this one number, and then they'll find the home inspector for you, and then the home inspector is going to then tell this company
all your stuff
that you can get bombarded with, all this other great ads.
So let's break it down to the practical then.
Mm-hmm.
What would you be telling people out there? Like, don't do this, do that, do that. Like, break it down. What if you want to protect your privacy, which is really what we're talking about here? Mm-hmm. All right, give us what would you be doing when you call a home inspector?
I think you just need to flat up ask them: are you participating in any of these programs where my phone numbers are going to be given to a third party? Is it
very obvious for them to know that they're giving away I'm talking about the inspector. Like if they, I guess, do you have to educate other home inspectors that this is what's happening? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're bright enough that you made the connection. Do you think that they understand that, look, they're pumping you for leads?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a big discussion in the home inspector world.
Yeah.
And people are sort of taking sides on this thing. Which is why I brought it up.
Yeah.
But I think basically, the consumers need to know, if you're shopping for a home inspector and you're calling around, 2-3 companies, however many, you just ask. And, if someone says, hey, not only will I give you an inspection, I'm going to give you
this on top.
That might be a red flag.
Yeah.
That somehow there's usually a reason behind they're going to give you something. Now, I'm not saying it's all bad. I mean, I give people home maintenance books at the end, but that's...
Well, I don't think we're talking about that. I mean, when you're talking about giving someone a warranty, and it's really, when I think about a warranty for home inspection, I'm thinking about things that person didn't catch in the first place, right? I mean, that's kind of like an insurance policy on, hey, listen, I didn't see this. I should have seen this. But you got this warranty for 90 days. And that's kind of shows that the person should... I mean, I would be thinking twice if I was a home inspector about offering that in the first place. Why do you need to offer it if you're...
Well, yeah, let's clarify one thing. I do offer the buyback guarantee, which is valid for 90 days after purchase. That InterNACHI will buy back the home. I've been participating. I don't really promote it a lot, but I keep it in the background.
Well, we go into that. What is that?
Well, here's how it's traditionally worked.
They'll buy the home back?
They'll buy the home back for the price you paid for it.
Really?
If you can prove the inspector missed something that they shouldn't have.
I'll be damned. I didn't know about that.
You've gotten it on all your clients.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm glad I got it, but I didn't know about it.
But traditionally, it's how is every inspector throws $5 into the big pot.
Oh, interesting.
All around the country, and it all sits in this big pot. And then if something happens, which has happened in Kansas and it's happened in Florida and I think Oklahoma,
it's rare.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. That's they'll buy the house back.
Oh.
And it's kind of a neat program, and it's just generally always been, you just throw your $5 in the pot, and then the pot grows, and then they use it if they need it.
Mm-hmm.
Then what happened with the data mining companies? They're coming. Well, we'll pay the $5 for you, and we'll give you a $100 gift certificate to use for handyman services to give to your clients. And I don't know, there might be something else that goes with it too. If you hand over your client's information, and I'm going, well, the $5 isn't worth it to me.
Yeah.
I'll just keep paying the $5.
Yeah.
And the handyman service is like, well, yeah, great, but I don't know who the handyman is that they're going to recommend. And now I'm finding out they don't even have a handyman lined up. They will just sell that lead
to another handyman.
To any handyman who wants to pay for the lead.
Yeah.
A guy I know online started a faux roofing company for an hour.
What?
Just to sign up and see what would happen.
Just to see what happened. And what happened?
And he's still getting bombarded days later with,
my God.
We've got someone who needs a re-roof, pay us $60 and we'll give you that information.
Ridiculous. Yeah, Ron.
Yeah. So, something at a kind of a higher philosophical level, traditionally home inspectors and home warranty and lending and termite inspection, it's all started with the realtor, right? Yeah. So the realtor is kind of like the great white shark that's out there swimming in the market, and they're the ones that interface first with the client, whether on the buying side or on the
and there's a lot of guppies
side.
that are hanging around.
A lot of guppies, right? And it sounds like a lot of all of these people that feed off of whatever the great white shark, they're like, well, you know what? We're going to go directly to the consumer, and as a result, we're going to develop a relationship with the consumer, and because there's ways to data mine and look at big data and be able to draw that they're now doing these things where, it might be a little clunky, but I mean, I don't know, maybe it's something in the future, they kind of, they kind of smooth it out a little bit.
They kind of know though that that realtors can't do that. You know what I mean? So they're finding something as close to that kind of quick as they can.
Mm-hmm.
They're and it's kind of diabolically genius that they're going after the inspectors. I don't agree with it, but it's completely genius, because if you can get a leg up before that information becomes public and it's all comers, right? You've found your blue ocean. You've found your basically the where people are not.
Right. Well, I mean,
where there's no competition.
Well, I was telling you, remember with my client, he bought a $330,000 condo in Reseda, and I got this call from him, days after we closed, and he said, hey, I got the letter from you guys from Guaranteed Rate offering the mortgage risk insurance. Can you tell me more about that? I didn't see the envelope where I can send that in. Do I just send that in where I send my payment? Yeah. And so, I called my servicing team. I'm like, are we offering mortgage risk insurance? I've never heard of this thing. And they're like, no, that's life insurance. I was like, what?
Yeah.
No way. So I asked him, I'm like, send it to me. I want to see what this thing looks like. And it was legit, right? So it had all the right markings. And it specifically said.
So it is Guaranteed Rate.
Not affiliated with Guaranteed Rate.
Oh, so it wasn't affiliated, even though it was using the logo, or was it?
He wasn't using the logo. So on his paper, on this letter, this insurance guy, he wrote in there, it says not affiliated with Guaranteed Rate, not affiliated with, we are not a lending institution. Yeah. It just was kind of like buried, right? It wasn't as prominent, but it did reference, it said, at the top, it did say Guaranteed Rate, and it said the loan amount. So for the consumer, he's thinking, oh, these must be related. So and I was talking to a financial advisor friend of mine who I helped him with his refi. And he's like, oh yeah, I got that letter before. I'm like, what's going on? Like all my clients are getting bombarded with life insurance.
Interesting.
And it's all about trigger, right? It's all about going through these life changes and, knowing that, okay, now I've got this home, and if something happens to me, whether, I need to call the duck Aflac or something like that, right?
Yeah.
To make sure that I have the right coverage.
Yeah.
Or, if it's, husband and wife and they're, they're out there and something happens to the major breadwinner, how are they going to pay the mortgage?
Yeah.
Right. But the fact that they called it mortgage risk insurance was just misleading.
Yeah.
Right. So, ultimately, I was able to refer them to, to some great insurance people that, that I trust and like, and say, he seems really interested in it.
Yeah.
But the fact that, they're doing that, you just have to protect yourself. That's something they talked about at the conference. They said, the second you list a home, your life is now under a microscope, right? And you will get bombarded. And buying a home, same thing, right? You have to know that your information, you are now a public target.
But see, you're getting into the problem I have is, like, your client wanted this product, and you knew someone who could provide it that you could trust.
Correct.
We all have these people that we know. We all network. We all go to things. That's how we've all met.
Yeah.
And I have my people that I trust, people that I know, and these companies are sort of trying to take that away from me.
Right. Exactly.
By basically saying your networking is no longer valid. We're going to take it all.
Look, even as a real estate agent, thank God this hasn't hit here yet, and who's to say it isn't going to hit here soon, right? Mm-hmm. But how about 90% of my value is basically, introducing you to someone who knows. Like, I don't know necessarily, and we're going to get into like talking about the new pool regulations. Maybe I don't know every single pool regulation or how, things supposed to be grounded in a pool or whatever, but I know somebody who does, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that's really one of the things that the real value that a real estate agent brings to this whole thing.
But what's kind of crazy though? So I was spent some time with my cousin, right? And he was looking for some homes for investment in Texas, and it was so funny because I'm like, because the whole reason why I was in Texas is because I'm building some business there and meeting with some agents and all that, and I know some agents in the area. And, he's like, oh yeah, so I got on the phone and I found these people off Zillow and I started talking to them, and I wanted to find more about that particular property, and their name was, right there underneath. They weren't the listing agent. They just happened to be on Zillow, right? When they went to that page.
That's one of the things that people don't understand about Zillow is that the face next to the house is not necessarily the listing agent.
Right. They just sponsor that particular.
KW though made a special deal that they are that face.
Oh, got it. Okay.
But they're the only company that has that.
Right.
There.
But the fact that the fact that there are people that I know, that are blood relatives that would call someone just for the convenience of having someone online versus, saying, hey cousin, who's the realtor I could talk to about buying this home.
Yeah.
It just floored me.
Yeah.
Right. So there's people that, that they don't want to go to the relationships and bother people and all of that. They're just going to go straight to what they see in front of them.
Yeah.
Well, one of the questions I had to these companies was like, well, when are you coming after the home inspector? Because the home inspector spends 2, 3, 4 hours with a client.
Yeah.
And then we probably never see them again.
Yeah.
Or the real estate agent's with them for weeks,
right?
Months, maybe sometimes. Like, the real estate agent and the client are like best friends at the end of this.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you go after
that can sometimes be a total manipulation, but yeah.
Why don't you go after the real estate agents? They're the ones that are the client has trust with, but then it comes down to numbers. How many deals does the average agent do in a year? And is 40% of all agents do 0 to 3 transactions a year. Or if you go after the home inspector who's doing 20 to 40 inspections a month, well, all of a sudden it starts to make sense. Like, oh, well, there's a lot more people you're going to get if you go after the inspector.
Sure. Right. Well, and also going with the agents, I think there's also all sorts of kind of ethical things that start to kind of, you start crossing lines and stuff like that in terms of like kickbacks and things like that we can't take. And so I think there's other reasons why they can't go that close to us. Mm-hmm. But I totally understand why.
There should be ethical reasons they shouldn't come after us.
Well, absolutely,
they're doing it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But by the way, so I did kind of start to bring up the pool, the new pool. I want to make sure we cover this before we're done here today. The new pool regulations that went into effect here in California. So take us down the road of, because before we started the podcast, you were telling me that this was actually usually law takes a period of time for it to kind of get into effect. This got railroaded. I mean, this just showed up and was like law the next day almost.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, usually laws that get introduced in the Senate or House of the state at the state level, they go around for months, sometimes years before they ever get passed.
Going from committee to committee. And
this one got introduced and was passed and signed by the governor in like record time, to the point that the California Association of Realtors never even weighed in on it. I don't know of any trade group or organization that weighed in on this at all. All of a sudden, it was just like, oh, by the way, there's this new law.
Yeah,
and it takes effect last January.
And you were saying there's like this. It was probably like the sponsor was painting it as some sort of like, if you don't support this, you are a supporter of killing babies.
So pretty much the text of the law has was citing statistics about drowning and using this that basically imply that if you dare oppose our bill, that you're somehow pro kids drowning.
Your thumbs up kids, going under. Yeah, yeah.
So yes, there's the California Pool Safety Act. The most interesting thing to me is this is the first time the state of California has specifically said what a home inspector has to do.
Oh, really? This is the first time? Oh, that wouldn't make sense, though. You've told us before that there's no any kind of licensing, or there's no kind of... So this makes...
There's no formal license for home inspectors in California,
yeah.
which a lot of people still don't know. Even a lot of agents don't know that.
Yeah.
There are laws on the books about what a home inspector can and can't do.
All right.
Similar to real estate agents, we have our ethical lines.
Yeah.
But they've never really had a law on what has to be in the report. They've always left that to the trade associations that certify home inspectors.
Okay.
So this is the first time that there's been a law that specifically says you have to put this in a report. And it specifically says if there's a pool in the home, the home inspector must document if there's 2 or fewer of these 7 approved safety items.
Right. So there's a list of 7 items, and it has to have 2 or 3, or does it have to have
2?
It has to have 2 of these.
The list of 7 has been around for a long time.
Okay.
However, before, it used to just be a recommendation.
Like a guideline.
Yeah. It was just a guideline.
Something you'd recommend, basically.
Something you recommend. Now they're saying you have to specifically document, and before it was 1 of 7.
Oh, okay.
Now it's 2 of 7.
Right.
So even if your pool just got passed last December, you're now out of compliance.
That's fascinating. So you thought you passed it when you bought the house. You thought, you checked it out. Everything seemed to check out, but you had 1 of the 7.
Right.
Now, if you go to sell it,
even in my own house, I mean, I have 2 little kids. Well, they're not quite so little anymore, but we bought a house with a pool, and we had a little baby at the time, and we had another little baby, and so we're very cognizant of having the proper safety barriers. I mean, even my house now is now out of compliance with the new law.
Really?
Because the new law now says you have to have 2 of these things.
Yeah. So why don't you go through the list just so everybody kind of knows, there's these 7 things. We'll go through the 7. Let's go with number 1. What's number 1?
Well, the number 1 is an enclosure.
So some sort of enclosure?
Which is a fancy way of saying fence.
Okay. Does it have to be like a metal fence, or is there any kind of
it doesn't specifically say metal. But it does have very specific guidelines. It references another health and safety code, which references to the fence being 60 inches tall.
Okay.
Which is not always
60 inches tall. Wow.
60 inches tall.
Okay.
The gaps between the fence have to be less than 4 inches.
Okay.
No, minimum 4 inches. Because they don't want kids sticking their head through it or squeezing through it.
Right.
You can't have more than a 2-inch gap along the bottom. There can't be any way for a kid to climb it.
Okay.
Actually, and it's just
needs razor wire on top.
Just not,
no, okay,
not quite, but almost.
All right.
And the important thing,
that's about the only thing that's going to keep my son out of any kind of enclosure.
And the important thing is any gate has to open outwards away from the pool.
Oh, now why would that be?
Because if a kid is trying to get to the pool and pushes on the gate, it cannot open inwards towards the pool.
Oh.
So the hinges must open outwards, so that you can only pull it open.
Okay.
You can't push it open because they're thinking the average kid's going to try and push on it.
Oh, so it's more of a law of averages kind of thing.
And the gate has to be self-closing and self-latching.
Oh, okay.
So you can have a fence, and I mean, you say this all the time. The fence is there, but the gate is just sitting wide open for anyone to walk in and out.
Yeah.
The gates have to self-close and self-latch.
Got it.
So that's the main one.
So is that all one then?
Yeah, this is all one thing.
It's all of one. It's not the door is a different thing.
Yeah.
The door is part of the
And here's the
enclosure.
crazy thing. If any of these any of these little things aren't met, that whole fence now fails.
Oh, wow.
As far as the law goes.
Whoa. Okay.
I just had this yesterday. They had the fence, but the gate didn't self-close, so technically I have to put down the fence.
Whoa.
No longer satisfies the law.
Wow. Number two
is the mesh fence.
Okay.
Which has to be...
so that's like the non-metal kind. That's kind of like more of a fabric kind of thing.
Yeah, and the mesh has to meet particular standards that I don't know how you enforce. And then it also has to have a self-closing gate that opens away from the pool that has to have a lockable device on
as
it.
well.
Yeah. It's interesting. The mesh fence has to have a lockable device. The enclosure fence does not.
Oh, it doesn't need to be lockable.
The mesh fence has to be lockable. I'm assuming because it's shorter, right?
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
And those are the two things you're probably most commonly going to see on the home.
Right.
The third thing is an improved pool safety cover.
Okay. So that's like some sort of, what's the regulation on that? Like what would be, so not just a piece of plastic over the...
Not the cover that you go to the pool supply store and put over to keep your pool warm.
Right, yeah.
It has to be specifically rated cover that it has to support, I believe it's 485 pounds worth of weight.
485 pounds.
So it has to be a cover that
big kid.
If a kid falls on it, well, I think if a kid falls on it and an adult jumps on it to rescue the kid, they don't both fall in the water.
God. Okay. Got it. All right.
Okay.
I mean, look, I'm not a baby killer, but at some point it's sort of obnoxious. Am I crazy here?
I mean, we had a pool. We didn't have any of this stuff. We had adults that taught us how to jump from our roof, right? Into the pool.
There's a pool. Don't go in it.
Right. So I have a question. So when it comes to, let's say you decide, you and your wife, your family, you're going to sell the house and you put it on the market and you just want to sell it quickly. So someone goes in, they buy it, they do an inspection. Okay, so the pool is out of compliance, but then the appraisal's done. Now, does that appraiser now have to go to these standards?
The law says nothing about appraisals.
Okay, all right, because that affects the closing the deal, right? So
the law specifically says home inspectors must document.
Okay, so they document it, but it doesn't hold up the transaction from closing.
So the people could still go through with. I mean, that's my understanding.
The law only says the home inspector must document. Now here's though where it comes back.
Okay.
As you know, as a real estate agent, and we've been through this. Once it's in the report, well, now it becomes something
material fact.
It becomes a material fact. Now it can be negotiated on.
Right.
Because now the buyer has the opportunity. Some buyers don't care.
Yeah.
Some buyers just want the house and they don't care.
Whatever. And
some buyers are like, oh, I want anything I can find to hold over the seller's head to try squeeze a couple bucks out of them.
They renegotiate the deal, basically.
So now you have something that's negotiable because it's in the report, and the law does not say the home inspector has to say anything other than where it used to comply, but now it doesn't. No, you just have to say it doesn't comply.
And this is just a California law?
This is just California.
Okay,
signed by it was one of the fat myths come up is people said, oh, this is tied to the Trump tax law. I'm like, no. This is only California. It was signed by
that's
Jerry
an interesting connection. All right, go ahead.
There's a whole 10 myths on my website. If you go to my website, IamHomeInspections.com, I've got 10 myths about this law that are on there.
What's the next one?
So, anyway, so it becomes documented in the transaction.
Yeah.
And then the other aspect is, so say you don't do anything about it because there's no enforcement for this.
Right.
Which is one of the criticisms of the law. So it's not enforced, so you don't comply. Well, what happens if something does happen on your property?
Right.
Now, some lawyer is going to say, well, where's your home inspection report?
Yep.
Well,
100%.
Your home inspector told you that you didn't have 2 of these 7 things, and now there's been an incident.
There's liability.
Property. So that's why I think it gets
because
a little scary.
Here's why I'm going to point out how important what you just said is. Mm-hmm. So I know that there was one that happened, I think in Santa Clarita about 2 or 3 years ago, where a boy got into someone else's house. Mm-hmm. Right? It was, I think he was autistic or some sort of, I can't remember exactly, but he basically found a way to get into somebody else's property and he drowned in their pool. So you can only imagine that, like you said, an attorney coming along and going, okay, the attorney for the kid who, the parents, and say, okay, let's take a look at your home inspection.
Right.
and let's see what it said. And if you decided to just go through with the deal without, or if you negotiated money for it and it still didn't get fixed, because that's another thing, right? That you say, oh, I'm going to take cash instead of, the repair or whatever. I could see a lawsuit coming right down the tracks at you. I can't imagine it. I mean, I'm not an attorney, but I can only imagine.
I can only imagine too.
You know what I'm not, does it sound like I'm what you're thinking, right?
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if an inspector calls us out, probably a good idea to fix it. That's probably a really good idea.
I mean, at this point, no, there's probably not a pool in California that complies with this because it came out and it's going to take several generations of people buying and selling homes before this all goes through.
All right, what's the next one?
The next one, exit alarms on the home's doors that provide direct access to the swimming pool. Now, to clarify, this is not your ADT.
No.
The door opens and an alarm goes off, because that could be any door in a house. It has to be specific to those doors that access the pool. And unless it's one of those alarms that specifically says the door to the pool is open, or any other sound that is specific to those doors. Does
the sound have to be continuous until it's closed, or is there any kind of, do they call out anything about that?
No, it just has to be specific to those doors, or say something, or have a voice that says the door to the pool is open.
Boy. All right.
So you're saying, oh, I've got a home alarm system. That actually technically does not count.
All right. Next.
Any doors that go to the pool can be self-closing, self-latching with a release mechanism no lower than 54 inches from the floor.
Okay. So
if you don't have the fence, you don't have the alarm, but if you have a door that self-closes and self-latches with 54, with a latch at least 54 inches tall, that could be one of your compliances.
Okay. All right. One of the two.
That's one of the two. 6 is an alarm that when you actually place in the water itself.
Oh, so that if the water tension is broken, it sets off an alarm.
It sets off an alarm. So if there's any sort of unauthorized accidental entry into the water, it sounds an alarm.
Okay.
So that's 6. And number 7 is my favorite of the other means of protection that has been independently verified by an approved testing laboratory. Whatever that means.
So it's really that kind of all over the place for that last one?
Yeah.
Like it can literally be anything that's...
Well, it has to be approved by a testing laboratory.
Which testing laboratories?
The ASTM.
Oh, so it is a specific one. But, all right. Well, that's fascinating.
Makes me want to go out and go buy a pool.
I know, right? As if...
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, look, to be perfectly honest, there's this thing about pools that people, especially in California, it's kind of that California lifestyle. It's really about, but when you have to basically make it a maximum security prison,
right,
in order to enjoy it, it takes away, I think, a bit of the fun, and
of course.
It's sort of. I mean, it's aesthetically ugly as sin for a lot of these things. I mean, I like to, if I'm going to have a pool, right? I love that kind of idea of looking out my backyard. And now, look, like I said, I'm not a baby killer. I swear to God, folks, I'm all about the safety and I'm all about that. But at some point, it's just not worth it.
Oh yeah, I mean, nothing sexier than being in an infinity pool in the Hollywood Hills and your view's obstructed by a giant fence,
around it,
right around there,
overlooking your beautiful view.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And every time I open my back door, there's a screeching alarm that says, doors open, doors open.
I mean, I have a fence around my pool. It's got a padlock on it.
Yeah.
My kids both know how to swim. But, I still keep the fence and I still keep the padlock on it because I don't want other kids who may come over. And,
right.
But that's still, that's now law saying that only meets one.
Yeah. Right.
I need to buy something else now.
You got to put that siren in the center of the pool.
So, this does affect any residential homes at the pool. The interesting thing about this is HOAs are exempt.
Oh, that's the other thing. So we really care about this for residences, but for an HOA that is a condo or whatever.
And just last week I inspected a condo, and the stairs of the condo basically end up in the pool. Like, there's this little 4 foot between the bottom of the stairs.
Hey, Timmy,
and the
you
pool.
didn't know where the pool was? Well,
and there's no fence, and the HOA doesn't have to comply.
Wow.
But it also does apply if you remodel your pool with permits.
Okay. Got it.
And if you have a new pool constructed. So if you buy a home that doesn't have a pool and you want to put one in, you're going to have to comply with these laws.
Right.
And like I said, there's no grandfathering. It doesn't matter if your pool's been there for 40 years. Doesn't matter if your pool passed, last year.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you don't have kids.
Well, look, I mean, and one of the things we should probably get across to everyone here is that, look, Ian is, I mean, not everybody has to do this now because all the home inspectors now have to do this. But having someone who generally knows everything about pools is a good idea anyway. And I know that you've got a specialty in inspecting pools.
That is the other biggest myth that I'm especially getting from agents say this is, oh, well, now the inspector is required to inspect the pool.
No. Only the safety aspects of it.
The law only specifies you have to inspect the safety barrier between the home and the pool.
Right.
Inspecting the pool itself is a whole other specialty, which is one of my specialties.
Yeah.
Not every home inspector specializes
knows
in
that
pools.
stuff. Yeah.
But there's a million other things. That's the kind of funny thing when the law came out. I'm like, there's a million other things that could go wrong with a pool as far as electrical safety.
Oh my God, yeah.
And pumps. And
you've heard of people getting like they're sucked into the hole, the filter and all that kind of thing. And,
right. That's another law. And there's a million electrical safety, especially since a lot of pools that were built in the 60s and 70s, they didn't have any sort of electrical safety regulations back then. So a lot of the pools across the San Fernando Valley were all built without any safety regulations.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny that the law only addresses one aspect of that.
Yeah.
So if you're buying and selling a pool, you definitely want to have your pool fully inspected by either a home inspector who understands pools like myself or a separate pool inspector specialist.
Speaking of which, while we're kind of tying up here, why don't you go ahead and give everybody your contact info so that they've got it. And I want to make sure everybody understands that if you're buying a house with a pool or just buying a house, period, Ian is, I mean, I love to send my clients his way. He's thorough and does an amazing job. So why don't you go ahead and give everybody your contact info so they know how to get in touch with you. The company's IM Home Inspections, the letter I, the letter M, Home Inspections at imhomeinspections.com. My number is 818-298-3405. That's 818-298-3405. Or you can email me at im@imhomeinspections.com. That's great. And do you have any other kind of web presence? Like are you on Instagram as well? And you're on.
I'm on Instagram.
The reason
Facebook.
I say that is that every once in a while he gives some really great advice also through these channels as well. So you should really give those folks out that as well, so they understand other ways they can see you.
Yes, I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm actually social media trainer. I'm doing a class.
Look at you
at SRAR.
Oh,
on April 19th on social media for real estate professionals.
Very cool.
I've done it. This will be the third year in a row.
Cool.
I wasn't sure if I was going to do it this year, but they actually called and.
I've been to it. I learned some things.
First, they begged me, and then they told me I had no choice. I had to do it. They want me back that bad.
All right. Well, but go ahead and give your other channels, like your Instagram and stuff like that.
It's Instagram. It's IM_home_inspections. Facebook.com/IMHomeInspections. I'm on Pinterest and Gmail and YouTube and just about anything you can think of.
Well, that's great. Well, Ian, thank you so much for coming. Really, I really appreciate you coming back, and we love having you. So I hope you'll come back again.
Oh, yes.
Awesome. Well, that's about it for today. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to leave them for us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Clarified Realty Podcast, all one word. If you have any questions about real estate or you're looking for someone to help you buy or sell a home, remember, I'm actually a licensed real estate agent. I'd love to help you out. So please email me directly at tom@Clarified Realty or give me a call at 818-335-7662. Don't be shy, guys. Come on, give me a ring. For more exclusive bonus content and advice between episodes, please check out our website, www.clarifiedrealty.com. Also on our homepage, you'll find links to helpful buyer and seller guides that can give you some really great information for starting your home buying or home seller process. So definitely check those out. Here's something we're very proud of. We have a top-ranked Alexa skill. We were actually number 6 this week in the Alexa skill store, so we're very proud of it. Search the Alexa store for the Clarified Realty Podcast, add our skill to your daily briefing, and get a dose of real estate news and tips every day of the year. Definitely give it a try. It's pretty cool. I'm on Snapchat, Twitter, and Instagram as well. My handle for all 3 of those are @Clarified Realty. Please leave feedback and reviews on iTunes or in the comment section on our page. Together we're stronger, so if you have any questions or ways that we can make this podcast better, please let us know. My amazing theme song. They liked it. My amazing. The people walking by, they had to laugh. My amazing theme song, Hey Now, is from the band Wolf. That's Wolf with 2 Fs. And please go check them out and like them on SoundCloud. And just a little fine print here. My brokerage is Keller Williams in Encino, Sherman Oaks. I'm licensed by the California Bureau of Real Estate, and my license number is 0171-5353. Ron's is
Guarantee rate, NMLS 2611, NMLS ID 558706, California and Texas.
The advice we give is only for properties located in the state of California. For all other states, please contact your local real estate agent or real estate professional. That's about it, Ron. You all good?
Yeah, man. Stay out of the pool.
All right. I can't get it over the fence. My butt's too big. All right. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. And remember, the greatest thing you can ever do is make someone feel at home. Take care. We'll see you next week.
What you gonna do? Hey now, 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 hey now. What you gonna do with your life?